real progressives and real progress in action. And I want you all to know that I am extremely happy about all your support. First thing I want to say is, folks, we're in the middle of a crisis right now. And, it's a shame that it took this for us to realize that we were in the middle of a crisis, but we are, in fact, in the middle of a crisis. It comes to a moment like this where everybody's searching for a savior. And, saviors aren't always there. Sometimes that savior has to be you and I. Sometimes that savior is a nurse or a doctor or a paramedic. Or maybe it's just a person down the street that realizes that they can pitch in and help. But right now, it's very important that we not look, even with Bernie Sanders' incredible run, even with his bold proposals, even with everything that he's been fighting for. He's but one guy. And he's always been but one guy. Always just been one guy. But Bernie Sanders represents more than one guy. Bernie Sanders represents not me, us. And I felt like it was very important for us to really, really understand that, because if we don't understand that it's not a Bernie Sanders moment, that he's going to do all this stuff for us, if we understand that we have to pick up the ball and run with it, regardless of who it is that is actually regardless of who's actually in there, okay? We have to take action, direct action. And that means we can't mail it in. That means that we can't just go out there and, I don't know how to explain it. We can't just simply mail it in and expect somehow or another for this to, in any way, shape, or form, turn out to be anything other than a self-fulfilling prophecy where we didn't accomplish anything. Now, too many of the people I see around there are looking at Bernie Sanders and wondering why he's not starting a third party, wondering why he's not attacking this person or that person or this system or that system or the rigged system or the Democratic establishment, etc. Let me ask you a question. Now, I want you to be honest with me if you can. If you're able to be honest with me, I want you to be honest with me. Name a candidate who has had a legitimate chance of building a movement, getting elected, etc., that has taken the bold steps that Bernie Sanders has taken in your lifetime. I'll wait. I got plenty of time. But most people don't have plenty of time, so I'm going to cut you off. You can pretend like you're thinking about it, but reality is Bernie Sanders is the only one. I love Ajamu Baraka, but he hasn't moved the needle in this regard. There's no one that has come close to Bernie Sanders. Not a soul. Not a single soul. And I think it's really, really important, because how many times have we sat there and watched candidates go up there and equivocate constantly? People that don't even have a platform, like Joe Biden. Joe Biden's more famous for saying he won't sign into law the actual Medicare for all, if you will. He would veto a bill that came to him for Medicare for all than just about anybody, right? And I think that, I watched Jimmy Dore, and I know he's trying to make a point, and I understand the point. We want to hold all of our politicians accountable, right? It makes sense. But look at all the wars Bernie Sanders has taken on for us. Look at all the things. Nobody has ever, Obama caved in before he even had a chance to get started when it came to things like, Medicare for all. What did Bernie Sanders do? He has just nonstop beat this down that it should be a right? Obama went out there and sold us insurance reform that didn't do anything but fatten the insurance companies. It certainly didn't help anybody, or very few people, let's be fair. Most people that have health insurance today can't afford to use it. People have unheard of premiums. And here, as we sit with a pandemic, People are getting $30,000 bills for getting tested, and for any care that comes after. Even some of the proposals that have come out haven't included aftercare. It's ridiculous. So I want you to understand. I really want you to understand. Really, really want you to understand that if you don't see Bernie Sanders take on everything you ever thought he should take on, that's okay. You know, there's nonprofits, like Real Progressives is a nonprofit. It's a 501c3. Well, Real Progress in Action is a nonprofit, but it's a 501c4. We can sit there, we can say the things that Bernie Sanders can't while he's trying to curry favor with the establishment. He's trying to win an election amongst people who fucking hate him. Okay? The guy is hated by the Democratic establishment. So that means that we, not me, us, comes into play, right? If there are groups out there that can fight for election integrity, they should be doing it. They shouldn't be kicking the legs out from under Sanders. They should be doing the hard work for him because he's got, think about this. He's advancing a Green New Deal. He's advancing Medicare for all. He's advancing a federal job guarantee. He's advancing child care as a right. He is advancing infrastructure. He's advancing, expanding Social Security. He has elevated Stephanie Kelton, the MMT economist that has made all this stuff possible. He has done more for us in his one little pinky than most of us will ever do in our entire lifetime. And yet, with all due respect to Jimmy Dore, he backed a really piss-poor candidate in Tulsi Gabbard, who bid onto every neoliberal thing she could with a UBI, shit-talked a job guarantee, okay? Went out there instead of something easy with Medicare for all, where you go into the goddamn IT system and change the damn date of eligibility and instant whammo, you've got Medicare for all. She wanted to create her own version. That's what he backed. Now, I love Jimmy, but let's be fair. Let's call a spade a spade. Jimmy has been slow on the uptake for pushing MMT. Jimmy had a real opportunity when he interviewed Stephanie Kelton. Jimmy had a real opportunity to really explode the Overton window by talking about this stuff, but they didn't. Why not? Why did they still refer to petrodollars and stuff like that? I'm not being mean. I'm being honest, right? Isn't that what Jimmy was being honest when he was talking about Bernie? Well, I'm being honest too. So I'm just being honest right now. Our alternative media has a responsibility. This is the not me, us movement. And it's not just to take the cool, edgy way for those people that don't like Sanders and kick his legs out from under him while he's advancing these ideas. You got to understand how hard it is. And I think we all see it, by the way. I don't think this is rocket science. I think we all see that trying to get centrist Democrats that have been tormented and tortured their own way with the Red Scare, McCarthyism, all the other stuff that the boomer generation went through with duck and cover, all the fear of Vietnam, they've carried the scars of the Red Scare for their entire lives. They've been tainted by fears of the word socialism. So to their credit, they're scared. They've been lied to. It's our job outside of the election season and during the election season to explain these things to them so that when it comes time for the election season that they are in fact listening. But what you've got is this tilted, like those hourglasses, okay, where the upper age groups voted for Biden or supported Biden, and you've got everyone down below, the entirety of the whole country supported Bernie. So you know that things are changing. But we still have plenty of time, in my opinion, right here, right now, if we don't squander it chasing ghosts. If the not me, us movement decides that we are going to advance these causes regardless of the bullshit the establishment is pulling, because of the very, very unique nature of a pandemic, because of the very, very unique nature of what is about to come with the greatest depression of all. Folks, I can't even tell you, as a guy that understands economics, I'm watching this tsunami come across, and you guys have your back to it. Some of you guys think you might see it. I'm telling you, most of you don't see it. You don't even know what's coming because you've paid attention to other people talking about Bernie Sanders didn't say something, or he called Joe Biden his friend, and that got you distracted from watching the tsunami come through. Sorry about that. That's just low-hanging fruit that some of these alt media people bang on to get likes and clicks. But the tsunami coming through is very real, and it's going to harm your children. It's going to harm you. It's going to harm your friends and your neighbors. It's going to harm everyone in this country, black, white, gay, straight. There's going to be some rich people that survive it without any kind of real issue. But there's going to be an incredible amount of pain coming. And we can't sit there and worry about whether Bernie tried to curry favor by not pissing off all the boomers that love Biden and have memories of Obama being a god and people that lived and died for the Clintons. He's got to somehow or another win just enough of their vote over to be able to make a difference, because he's hoping that the people don't go ahead and start shit talking him, moving off into some bizarro Tulsi land. Okay, and that they stay firmly rooted in the movement so that he can go out there and curry those people that otherwise wouldn't give a progressive the time of day because they are still living in the McCarthyism era. That Red Scare is very real. Talk to somebody at a Walmart sometime. Go strolling through a Walmart sometime and ask them what they think about the word socialism. And watch them, their veins will come out of their head. Well, I don't like socialism. Fuck that socialism thing. They don't even know what it means, but they know they hate it. That's how powerful the propaganda has been. So Bernie had to hope and pray that he could count on the faithful to not depart and go chase after lesser stags or stagettes, and that they would stay firmly in his camp and not shit talk him while he tried to work the back doors to get past these bozos in the establishment. It's a tough gig, man. I wouldn't want to do it. I won't do it. So it's kind of hard for me to poke holes in it. But I can tell you, I see the errors. Not the errors that he did, but the errors that we did. Not me, us. We didn't fight those battles. The Becks went out there and fought the DNC in court. Not enough of us supported the Becks. There was a lot of things that we could have done. We could have been taking protests out there. We could have been doing this stuff. We could have been learning economics so that we could actually fight back against the propaganda. The lies that told us we couldn't afford this stuff. The lies that said Bernie Sanders' plans were pie in the sky. We actually could have learned modern monetary theory, but many of y'all were stuck listening to people like Tanya Singh call it a cult. Because of that, so many burners were rendered irrelevant. They were unable to actually make a difference. They were unable to get past the brainwashing, the fear of being in the outcast, the out group, the fear of saying it was okay to talk about modern monetary theory because the cool kids rendered it stupid or occult or right-wing libertarian ideology or some other bullshit. See, this is the power, unfortunately, of a few bad eggs that get a little bit of social media power. And they can say some really dumb, uninformed things. And they can lead incredible amounts of people the wrong direction. This is why Not Me, Us is so important, because we have to self-police. The people that don't understand these things have to be educated and taught. We have to bring them into the fold. Because if we don't do that, then there will be no support for the major initiatives that we need. And right now, let me tell you, the United States isn't just falling behind because of a depression coming. The United States isn't falling behind because it can't be an imperialist, warfare machine, whatever. The United States is falling behind because the world sees that we are inept at taking care of our own people. The world sees that we're inept at planning for disasters. The world sees the only export that the United States really cares about is blowing markets up around the world to create more room for capitalism. And they look at this and they see people suffering and dying, and they're like, so much for the shining light on the hill, so much for that red, white, and blue. These colors don't run. Folks, there's going to be about 250,000 people freaking screwed up from this, and many, 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 many thousands dead. I mean, the numbers are staggering that they're talking about in the United States alone. The trajectory of the death coming is ridiculous. Our hospitals are nowhere near ready for this. Our healthcare system can't absorb this. For-profit, just-in-time healthcare is not going to be able to handle a pandemic. And lo and behold, the biggest bite of them all, Donald Trump is about to out-left Joe Biden. Donald Trump recently was talked to about supporting Medicare for all. Can't make this shit up. And the Democrats don't know what to do with themselves. They're shitting their proverbial pants. Orange Man bad is about the extent. Russia, Russia, Russia. Let's play on those old McCarthy tropes of socialism, etc. They don't have any substance. The only person with substance is Bernie. And he needs a movement, not me, us, to make this thing happen. Now, again, I tell you this from the bottom of my heart. It doesn't matter. I mean, it does. It changes everything, right? But it doesn't matter in terms of what we should do next. If Bernie doesn't get the nomination, and let's be fair, the private corporation that is the Democratic National Party, the DNC, etc., they have no responsibility whatsoever to hold a free and fair election. They have no responsibility whatsoever to pick the person that people pick. They have no responsibility whatsoever to let democracy play out. So the chances of Bernie getting past all the bullshit that they throw in front of him, pretty slim to none. I'm still going to fight, but that's because that's what I do. I fight to the end. I don't quit in the middle of shit. It's just a style thing. It's an ethos. But for the movement, whether Bernie's there or not, everything that we're talking about now has got to be talked about the day after. Everything that requires us taking it to the streets, even in a lockdown environment, needs to take to the proverbial electronic streets. We need to be flooding major media outlets with economic truth. We need to be flooding our town halls, these virtual town halls, with economic truth, with truth about election integrity, with truth about all this stuff. We need to be building alliances with people that are slightly different than us so that we can grow our sphere of influence. Because not me, us has got to be our new norm going forward. We can't be a bunch of scattered singles out of freaking go-go. We've got to be a freaking wad of fat stacks, and we got to be ready to freaking take on the establishment. Again, with or without a standard bearer like Bernie Sanders. I see so many people worried sick that AOC is going to try to somehow or another cobble together a centrist / left progressive coalition to win immediate seats right now. I don't care what she does. That's not necessarily us. Maybe it is us. Maybe we have to look at wins as how do we gain the most territory? Because we can't win anything with rigged elections, and we can't win anything without a majority. And we can't win anything when people are freaking scattered all over the place chasing shiny objects. Our enemy is ridiculously precise. It's ridiculously organized, and it doesn't get a case of the feels when it doesn't like something. It just keeps driving the point. It knows what it wants, and it keeps fighting. Minute things get hard, oh, we got to stop it. Oh, I'm done. I'm quit. I'm not doing it anymore. And they just go, there you go. So they do it every time, guys. They quit. As soon as you go and get stuff, the people check out. We don't even have to worry about this movement. They'll wimp out in no time. And I mean it. This is exactly what goes through their head. Without people dedicated to this, with or without Bernie Sanders. And you know what's heartbreaking? What's super heartbreaking is when Bernie Sanders was on Bill Maher the other night, he went out there and basically dropped the MMT bomb. He said, because he had to play once again to Bill Maher's orthodox thinking, it's going to be pretty expensive, but you know what? It's going to be way more expensive if we don't do these things. That's about as far as a non-economist like Bernie Sanders can go. But sadly, many of the people in our movement are waiting. Why didn't Bernie use the words MMT? Well, MMT is kind of like, we're trying to teach you this stuff. Bernie's not running around with pamphlets trying to teach you MMT. He's trying to get you health care. He's trying to get you infrastructure. He's trying to get rid of your student debt. He's trying to get you a Green New Deal. Okay? He doesn't want to get into an ideological bitching fest with a bunch of economic... The fact is that the United States government, period, spends money into existence every single time it spends. It's not, oh, you're going to just print more money. That's exactly what they do right now. They already do it right now. They do it for the military. They don't do it for us. So you're not doing anything different. You're just shifting where they spend it. So why is it when we talk about spending on the people, why is it that bad actors always talk about inflation then? Why do they always talk about devaluing the dollar and making it worthless when they shift the money from spending on the military to spending on the people? Why do people do that? I can't answer the question. Sure as fuck can't answer that question. I mean, people that say they're fighting for Medicare for all and fighting for a Green New Deal and all that crap, talk about devaluing the dollar. What? What? Dumbass say what? Doesn't make any sense. You never talk about devaluing the dollar when you buy the next tank. You never talk about devaluing the dollar when you buy a bomb. Why the fuck would you talk about devaluing the dollar when you talk about getting rid of student debt? It's like the most moronic thing possible, isn't it? I mean, I just don't quite understand what the stumbling block is here. Government spends money into existence, period. Some guy said, well, Steve, seems like you don't really realize the creature from Jekyll Isle. I got the book laying here on the floor somewhere. Read that stupid thing when I was a Ron Paul bot. How the hell did Ron Paul infect the fucking progressive movement, guys? I mean, seriously. How the hell did Ron Paul and Alex Jones find their way into the goddamn progressive fucking movement? Get out of here, you idiots. They don't belong here. And take that idiotic conspiracy shit with you. Seriously, that's ridiculous. I mean, they say they want these things, and all of a sudden they throw out the Rothschilds. Get out of here. Moose, get out of with the cattle prod. Go, bounce. Stupid. Seriously. Well, we want to save everyone from the virus, but what about the Rothschilds? What about the Rothschilds? I mean, stupid shit, man. I'd say you can't make it up, but clearly they did. They wanted a James Bond novel, man. They didn't want to get anybody saved. They wanted to talk. Dun, 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 dun. They needed a little bit of an exciting time to talk about economics, because regular economics, the country spends money into existence. It's just too boring. It's just too damn boring. Holy shit, you mean we can spend it's by keystrokes? Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. So not me, us could really say, well, we don't need to be friggin' experts in the economy, damn it. We're not at full employment. For God's sake, we're not at full employment. Jesus, we just lost 10 million jobs in about a blink of an eye. And that's only the beginning. So with 10 million jobs gone and all that economic activity gone, if you think spending money to keep the economic activity up right now is going to cause inflation, you ain't working for us, man. You're not on the right team with that shit. That's insanity. The productive capacity of the nation is super important right now. We don't have masks. We don't have ventilators. We don't have a lot of the things we need. Why is that? Why don't we have the things that we need? I can tell you why we don't. Clearly tell you why we don't. We don't have it because people thought the country was broke. And they thought we had to take out a credit card for the People's Republic of China. They thought we had to raise taxes to pay for these things. I'll say it again. You've never had to raise taxes to pay for a damn war, have you? In fact, $750 billion went to the military, and simultaneously they cut taxes. You do that math, please. Anyway, point is, you're going to have to know this stuff with or without Bernie Sanders. Let's hope that we can actually recruit a whole bunch of people to run for office. And if we can't, let's hope we can find people that'll take to the streets and grab microphones and stand on the corner and talk about the fact that it's not a matter of what the Federal Reserve is, because the Federal Reserve only handles interest rates and bank lending. The United States government, however, the Congress, Article 1, Section 8, handles fiscal policy. When Congress says spend, damn it, the money is spent. And let's take it a step further. Rashida Tlaib with the Boost Act, her and Rohan Gray of the Modern Money Network wrote a bill called Mint the Damn Coin. That's not exactly called that, but mint the fucking coin, right? Mint the coin. $2 trillion coins created by the Mint, deposited in the Treasury's accounts at the Fed. Boom. Eliminate any concerns about borrowing money. We don't borrow our own money, folks. It's keystrokes. I mean, literally. I mean, it's just freaking keystrokes. 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 You see what I mean? Just keystrokes. There's no borrowing money from China. They don't borrow US dollars from China. See, China does a lot of business around the world because we've allowed them to become the industrial center of the nation, of the world, excuse me. And so when they sell their goods and services into the U.S., United States gives them U.S. dollars. Chinese look at those U.S. dollars and are like, well, what the hell do I do with U.S. dollars? I will take some of them back and we'll let them use those around Beijing at the markets and all the bartering they do. You can come in there with U.S. bucks and buy things. Sure, okay. But what they do is they use them and they keep them at the Fed to facilitate trade. Well, they can keep them at the Fed and not make a penny on them, or they can buy bonds and earn a nominal interest. People call that debt. It's not debt. It's not debt any more than a savings account at your bank is debt. Okay? It's just a marker on a ledger. You got assets and liabilities. It's ridiculous. At some point in time, you want people to friggin' get smart. You need them to get smart. They need to get smart. We can't keep saying dumb things about the national debt. And this is where not me, us kicks in big time. This can't be just the select few that get this. It's got to be the entire damn movement. No more bullshit. No more myths around the friggin' idea of national debt or reducing deficits. The deficit is simply the amount of money spent and the amount of money taxed and the difference between the two. BFD. And it resets every year. There is no long-term deficit. There's an annual deficit. It's a budget deficit. There's no such thing as the long-term deficit. And let me ask you this. If the government is one side of the ledger, who do you think's the other side of the ledger? That's we the people. That's companies. That's all sorts of stuff in the private sector. Public sector, private sector. And so if it's a debt on the public sector, it's an asset in the private sector. So if we keep spending money at the top, all the money, which is the asset, goes to the rich. But if we spend it at the bottom, people flourish, people are taken care of. And by spending it at the bottom, it may mean giving everybody free health care. It may be providing a national health service, a step above Medicare for all. It might be making college completely free and getting rid of student debt. It might be that. And that is permanent relief at the bottom. I want you to, back in 2008, 2009, during the last financial crisis, millions of older workers were forced out of their jobs and forced to reinvent themselves. Many of them drove 2 hours in the middle of the night to work a weird shift at a Walmart that was hiring. But many of them went back to school to try and find a new career in the post-recession world. Older people that had maybe 10 years left to work, that are going to have to work now till they're like 70 or 80 to pay off any of their debt. And by the way, student loans as of now are not dischargeable. And so these people are carrying that debt to their grave. All because their career ended because of corruption, because of a financial system that was rewarding shadow banking, that was rewarding betting against the economy, that was rewarding blatant criminal activity in the banking sector. Bill Black, one of the greatest people I know, chased after the Keating Five and the savings and loan crisis. And if you've ever heard our podcast, Macro and Cheese, go listen to the Bill Black episode. He breaks it down in great detail. Bill Black is an amazing man. Please follow Bill Black. But Bill Black talked about it. The same people back during the Keating Five and the savings and loan scandal were the same people throughout this countrywide and on and on and on with the housing crisis. And on and on and on through the 2000s when the bubble burst in the first little recession when Bush took over for Clinton. And then the one where Obama, when the whole market collapsed. I want you to know that if you guys can learn modern monetary theory and you understand that the federal government has the power to change this shit, it just chooses not to. It chooses laissez-faire. It chooses to allow banks to run wild. It's not because banks run wild. It's because the government lets them run wild. Because we, the people, can't stay focused. Occupy Wall Street had a lot of things right. Not everything, but they had a lot of things right. An awful lot of things right. And we need an Occupy Wall Street type movement again. We need the people to rethink society. And that's what the Green New Deal was supposed to be about. Not me, us. Bernie Sanders, AOC. Bring back FDR. And right here, right now, as companies are going to go belly up around the world and people are going to be completely without jobs, without incomes, Pavlina Cherneva has come out with a Nordic idea that we should nationalize payroll. Why isn't Jimmy Dore talking about? Why is Jimmy Dore busy talking about Bernie Sanders, whatever? Nationalizing payroll. Our alternative media friends need to start following the right people and not chasing freaking shiny objects around. We need to be nationalizing payroll. Right now, they could swoop in immediately and keep everyone where they are with their money intact so that people aren't worrying about chasing a dollar while we're trying to avoid a virus. So we can kill this pandemic in its tracks. And again, right now, the United States looks like a bunch of buffoons around the world. But if we nationalize payroll, check out Pavlina's work. Pavlina Cherneva, Tcherneva. Levy College, Levy and Bard. Check it out, Levy Institute. And start remembering we have bold policy prescriptions that we've been led to believe we can't do because we're broke. Because the country's broke and it's borrowing money from China and the Rothschilds and stupid shit. That's why we don't think bold like this. But it's right here, right now. And the Democrats are about to try and push Biden through, who won't even give in to Medicare for all. And is about to get out-left by Trump. Wow. Wow. So I tell you this, all to say that Bernie Sanders is still running for president. He's still running for the Democratic nomination. And whether or not he falls in line or whatever doesn't change anything about what it is we're fighting for. This not me, us movement has got to grow a life beyond Bernie Sanders, even if Bernie Sanders wins the presidency. It has got to be more than Bernie Sanders. And that means if Bernie Sanders doesn't specifically say MMT, that you don't sit there and say, well, Bernie's website says he's going to raise taxes, a nickel on this and a nickel on that to pay for it. Folks, taxes don't pay for anything. They're deleted. The dollar is a tax credit. When the government spends it into existence, it says we'll take $1 back in taxes for $1 spent. So it's 1 for 1. That's what backs our money. Not gold, not oil, not the Rothschilds, not sexual favors, not gold or chicken necks. No pork belly commodities. Just the imposition of a tax. The debt associated with the tax, that liability, that obligation, is what gives our currency its value. And we can literally kick this virus's ass and make our country prosper. And this depression thing doesn't have to happen. It doesn't have to happen. But it's going to take a major outward movement telling them we know what you did, we know what you're doing, and we won't accept peanuts anymore. You've got to have a bold vision. And you've got to understand that a federal job guarantee is core to every restructuring of society and to beating this thing, because when the economy tanks, there needs to be a superior automatic stabilizer there to keep society functioning, to keep people mobilized, and that is the federal job guarantee with a living wage, setting the de facto minimum wage so you don't have to even worry about the minimum wage, because at the end of the day, if a company doesn't pay the $15, $16, $20 an hour that the job guarantee pays, whatever that number is, then you don't have to go work in that crap hole. You can work in the federal job guarantee. And those companies have to meet or beat that wage for you to get hired out of it. It is like a union baked into the law. They have literally taken away the ability for an employer to treat you like dog shit and get away with it. And God, can you imagine us going through this virus with a federal job guarantee in place? Imagine that. And let me tell you why this is so important. If you do the Green New Deal, if you're dealing with a climate crisis that, oh, by the way, is still happening right now, albeit the earth is getting a chance to breathe momentarily while we stop, the side benefit, ironically, we're still dealing with a climate crisis. And that means we're still going to need a Green New Deal on the other side of this virus. Actually, during this virus, we still need it. And the reason why the job guarantee is so vital is as we eliminate bad industry, bad business that does bad things like oil and gas, like fracking, those coal miners and others, they have to have jobs to roll in or they're going to vote against us. They'll vote to keep their shit job, to keep us dying because they don't know anything else. The federal job guarantee allows for a just transition so that we don't have to worry about those battles and we can move people into productive employment without them losing their livelihood. This is very important. So I want you all to remember, even while we're struggling, even while we're suffering through this pandemic, that there's work that must be done right now. Don't check out. No matter how bleak it looks, there is work we must do. We must carry the torch to the end. We can't allow a rigged primary to derail our ambitions. We cannot tuck our tail and say, oh, I quit, man. It pissed me off. If that was going to be easy, it would have been done already. This is going to be hard. And I'm not here to critique whether you're dem entering or dem exiting or building a third party. I'm here to tell you that the movement must be the movement. And when you see the Democrats or the progressive Democrats or the Greens or whoever doing the right thing, instead of getting proprietary with it, saying, who named the Green New Deal and all this crap? Start working as a movement. Stop wearing your colors for your party and start wearing your colors for a movement that includes all the working class. We need a class-based movement, not a party-based movement that balkanizes us into little tiny. That's what the ownership class wants. They want to keep us divided by little stupid little jerseys and stickers and buttons and crap like that. Keep us divided. The 99% is a huge, huge number. And if we make this class warfare, we can win. That includes black and brown people that have gotten the short end of the stick forever. That includes gay people that have been marginalized forever. That includes women who have been treated as second-class citizens. And that includes men who have been unjustly called deadbeats when they've been victims of a neoliberal system that has caused all of us to suffer. And it definitely includes the poor who have been left behind and treated like it's their fault. This movement must be about the 99%. It must be beyond parties. It must be beyond elections. And it has to be founded in economic literacy because the other side is lethal in their knowledge and precise in the way they shove the scalpel in to kill us all. We got to fight back. And folks, I'm asking you to support us and I'm asking you to keep fighting. And I hope you guys check out our podcast, Macro and Cheese, www.macro, cheese.com. Please, if you can, go to our Patreon account, become a monthly donor. We don't really give away stuff like behind a paywall. We try and make it free for everyone. Every guest we have on, we've tried to make it free. So we're looking for donations. This is not a matter of, hey, you get extra benefits. We're trying very hard to make sure that we can do this the right way because it's more important that we get the information out to everyone than we give you perks and little benefits, okay? The perks and benefits are that we survive. That's the goal here. So with that, I'm Steve Grumbine with Real Progress in Action. Have a great day, everybody.